Lynn Jackson is William Jackson's niece, and William Jackson unfortunately suffers a fatal heart attack, which leaves Roman's role at the firm in question. And she has a solution of sorts to introduce her to Colin Farrell's character, George Pierce. It doesn't really get any better than being in a room with Colin and then Denzel, who happens to be one of the most precious gems in the crown of cinema. And then you've got the Gilroys, one's editing, one's the writer and director, and then Bob Elswit behind the camera. It really was a dream come true, and I feel so blessed and honored to be a part of it, and that Dan was willing to trust me with Lynn, because it really sets up the story. It's not only about activism and humanity, but where your moral compass is placed within yourself. And when you start to question what's really right and what's really wrong in your eyes, and how you reconcile that with the society in which you live and the community in which you live. It's very important. So hopefully it'll be a meditation of sorts for each and every individual viewer.
I feel amazing. I'm so excited about this film. It's like one that I'm really proud of. You know, I'm always excited by the films that I work on, but I'm particularly excited about this. I think it's a really poignant and really universal message and themes that we tackle. And I got to work with Denzel. Dream come true. It's something I've wanted to do my whole life. I play Maya, who is a volunteer activist. She's of a younger generation than Denzel's character, who's also very active and an activist. And they see something of themselves in each other, I think. I see myself maybe 20 years from now in Denzel's character. And it's this wonderful meeting of minds, and it's a really unusual and special kind of dynamic between a man and a woman on screen, I think. You can have best intentions and lose your way because there are so many pulls in the rest of life that kind of take you in different directions. But to know that you can come back to something that feels grounded, I think is something that the film tries to explore. And I think there's something uplifting about that. There's something aspiring about that. I hope that they leave really thinking about Roman Israel, and if they've ever come across somebody that's anything like him, somebody that you would think that you could just walk right past in the street, that has nothing to offer in your day, that in fact you might revisit that as a notion and realize that sometimes it's the people that we sort of dismiss in life that maybe are the most inspiring.
Did you see this guy right there, Dan Gilroy? He wrote the most brilliant script ever. And when we read it, we were blown away. It's a perfect role for Denzel Washington. We built an amazing relationship with him last year after Fences. And so when he tailored this script for him and they were looking for partners, we had to jump at the opportunity. And it also tells a very timely story about this brilliant criminal defense attorney.
What inspired me was remembering the 1960s and this incredible spirit of activism, and over the last 4 decades watching it in very many ways evaporate. And I became interested in the idea of somebody who never left the 1960s. Where would they be? What would they be like? What would the toll have been? And that really led to the creation of Roman Israel. There he is right there. That's what he looks like after 40 years of activism. Roman is a guy whose his beliefs are almost like a religion. It's a faith in something bigger than himself. Denzel is somebody in real life who has great faith and believes in things bigger than himself, and that quality that he brings as an actor welded perfectly with the character. And there's other great actors out there, but I couldn't conceive of another actor who could do that the way that he did it. The activism is important because we live in a time where people are realizing that they really have to stand up for things that they believe in, that there's a lot of very important things that are on the line. So getting out there and standing up for a cause, whatever your cause is, now is the time. Roman, I hope, is an inspiration for that.
He's a true advocate, and you know, he's from a different era. Dan is a wonderful writer, Dan Gilroy, and director, and I just wanted to be a part of it. He wrote a really wonderful script and a very interesting character, and he's a wonderful filmmaker. So it was all the right reasons. It was on the page, first of all. Well, that's just a part of the research. That's a part of the process. You don't know where you're going to start necessarily. You start with the script, and it gives you certain clues, and one thing leads to another. It was well written. It was something I hadn't done before. I had seen Nightcrawler. Dan is a wonderful, like I said, director and writer, and so it was a great opportunity.
I play Felicity Ellerby, and what Felicity's character is extremely, I'm going to emphasize, extremely important to the journey of Israel. She's very important to the journey of what happens to him. The foundation, a lot of it is what happens with Felicity and her nephew. And she's a no-nonsense woman who will do anything for her nephew. And if you screw her wrong, you don't want to mess with her. You don't want to mess with her. What's interesting about this story that's very different is from the side of the attorney. Of those lawyers who we interact with on a day you may interact depending on what's going on, to see it from their side. This is a lawyer who really wants to do the right thing. But circumstances happen that force him to make a choice. And it comes down to what will that choice be. And for me, it was like life imitating art. I hope by the time you see this movie that it will enlighten you on the judicial system that's happening in this country, but on an even bigger scale, just as a person, being a human being, that you will be able to see that life really is about choices, and one wrong choice can completely change your life 360 degrees.
I feel like there was a spirit of activism in the 60s, and Denzel's character is kind of caught in that time. And there's been this resurgence today that makes it so relevant. And it's what I take away from it is this need and this desire to do more. And I hope that the film inspires others.
When I walked out of seeing it the first time and I made the movie, I was driving home and I called Denzel, who had not seen the film yet, and I burst into tears because I said I haven't been that moved by a movie ever, and I felt like I needed to do even better things for people. I needed to help people more. So that was my reaction. I hope that's other people's reaction.